My name's Cecil Thomason, journalist for a London newspaper. My story starts back in London when I just reported on a great tragedy. I earned myself awards. I earned myself the respect of my peers and the public for my honest reporting style. Honest, far from the truth. And that was tested when I went to Angeles City. I came back a different man. As you see, other people's sufferings was my bread and butter. It was what I did. I was a words man. All I'd ever think of was column inches. How best to translate into words their pain and situation. I never got emotionally involved, although those reading the words often thought I was and would come and shake my hand or pat me on the back, and I'd smile wryly to myself, because they gave me honor and respect, whereas if they knew what was inside my mind and heart and soul, they deserved more of it for giving it than I did for taking it. For I didn't give a toffee. I didn't care at all for the people that I wrote about, for the sufferings I saw. I didn't care at all. It was just money for me, a way to get money, a job to be done that I did very well, and I did do it well, and I still do it well. But I do it differently. Since going to Angeles City, the city of angels, that's what it means. Quite ironic, really, to see it, because when you're there, you feel God-forsaken, but not really forsaken by God, but by mankind, for your fellow brothers and sisters. And I was one of them. Not one of the poor people that lived in Angeles City. I was one of the forsakers who didn't give a stiff about them. I was as cold as any solicitor, any lawyer, any journalist, any politician, any great official in the world, all devoid of heart. Except when it's needed to be shown, and then it's more like an act than a real gut-wrench feeling that other people feel. I went there. On the streets, dust everywhere, flies flying around, the stench. Oh, the stench. It's as if the smell of poorness, of mankind rotting, as if it had a distinctive smell, and that beautiful wine-smelling smell of of modernity, of London, I could no longer recognize. I kept having to put a tissue over my nose. I didn't care what they thought of me. I didn't care for being civil to them. I saw myself as above them, even though I was writing about their plight. And they would welcome me with their handshakes and smiles, and yet I was this vile man that would just reap upon their tragedies. Yet they thought I was exposing their story, their difficulties to the world, and that it would make some kind of difference. But I let them believe that it would and told them all the words that they wanted to hear, but I knew that it would make no difference, for I had reported on thousands of stories, and the tragedies, they still remain. Nothing changes from words that I write in newsprint and read by millions of people. It don't make a goddamn difference what's written. But I wasn't worried about that. I was much more annoyed about the beggars, all coming up to me giving me their excuses. Their families were poor. They had no money for the electricity. It was going to be cut. Their children were sick. They had TB. Even some lewd suggestions for exchanges of money. These people were beyond humanity. They lived more like animals than men. They would do anything to get money. And I mean anything. They would offer anyone an exchange of a paltry price. And even as a journalist, I wasn't even willing to do that. Then I'd never been in a situation of poverty. And I shrugged them off. I pushed them away like they were rats, infested. I even wiped my hands clean from them on their walls. And even then I still had to go and wash them, feeling dirty until I was clean. And even their water didn't feel as clean as our water back in London. I felt even by breathing in their air I was being contaminated by this poverty that I set to put in words and make people back in London cry and feel that I was a great man, a great reporter, a great journalist, a great humanitarian. Yet if I was any of these things, I would have given these poor people money, wouldn't I? Rather than just let them suffer. That's what I did. I was going to stay in a hotel, but the time was too late and I was told that I wouldn't be able to get one at this time, that they shut early in this district. So, I had the choice of any of their houses to live in. Every single one of them wanted me to stay in there, and I knew why. They just wanted my money. They saw my suit. They saw my wallet. They pretended to be kind, to be civil. These backward people. But I didn't care. I was going to get a room. Or so I thought until I entered into one of their houses. And immediately I walked back out and entered into the next and found it the same. It was just a square box, a room that was more high than it was wide, and how strange I thought this was. I mean, a room only has to be about 7 feet tall, maybe a little bit more. But this room had so much space above it, it couldn't even be used. It was just a box. And there, around the room I looked, I could find no doors. Just one room. And even then they had to scrimp and save to afford that. But I didn't feel anything, as much as these words might suggest. I didn't care that they lived in these cages, that they didn't have anything, that they had to work so hard and sell themselves, their souls, do all sorts of things. Illegal, legal, whatever. Just to get a penny to pay for these things. I didn't care. All I cared about was the fact that this one box room was their living room, their kitchen, their dining room, their toilet. And that this room was the room that I'd be sleeping in with them.